President Obama jumping headfirst into the marijuana debate that is raging in this country after taking some heat, after saying that it's no more dangerous, really, to smoke pot than it is to drink alcohol. Here's what he says in a very long New Yorker story that has just been published, okay? He says, as has been well documented, I smoked pot as a kid, and I view it as a bad habit and a vice. Not very different from the cigarettes that I smoked as a young person up through a big chunk of my adult life. I don't think it's more dangerous than alcohol, the president said. Michael Graham joins us now, talk show host for the New England Talk Network, and Richard Fowler, radio talk show host as well of the Richard Fowler Show. Gentlemen, welcome. Good to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Martha.
Richard, let me start with you. What do you think about those comments?
Well, I think the president's right here. There's been no medical evidence that says that alcohol is more damaging than marijuana. One is legal and one isn't legal, which therein lies the problem. And I think that's the problem the president's trying to make here, is that they're both vices, but some vices are legal and some vices aren't legal. And I think it's a situation where we're picking winners and losers depending on the vice that you particularly choose. And there's a problem there.
Yeah, I find it surprising, Michael Graham, that, that nowhere, he doesn't, it is legal now in 2 states, but for, all of most of our lives, it was illegal, and, it also was when he was a kid, and he doesn't say, oh, it was illegal and I shouldn't have done it. He says it's a bad habit and a bad vice.
Well, first of all, I want to celebrate the fact that if you remember those old Budweiser commercials for the Bud Bowl, you'll be having in New Jersey the first real Bud Bowl, as the 2 states with legalized pot will be headed to your town to enjoy a football game. So that'll be very, very interesting. It's also fascinating to have the same White House that is screaming at me, put down the ice cream, stop eating those cookies, is telling me, dude, pick up a bong, what's the big deal? We should have the government tell you not to eat drink 20-ounce sodas. We should have the government tell you not to eat those fatty foods. But whether it comes to smoking pot, that's up to you. Now, of course, the problem is the more pot you smoke, the more you want the cookies and the ice cream. That is the collision.
It's just a vicious cycle, isn't it?
Yes,
it is confusing, Richard, as a mom of 3 kids, and they are being, told all the time, like don't drink, don't smoke cigarettes, all these don'ts, which, I think most parents do agree with. So they might find it a little odd that the president seems to be sort of saying, it should be legal and it's okay. It's just like alcohol.
Well, but I don't think the president went that far, Martha. I don't think the president said we should legalize marijuana. I think what the president said in the article, I think very well put, let's see what these states do, let's see how it works. But the truth of the matter is that not legalizing it, and like I've said before, this is the only libertarian bone in my body that I got. I got to tell you, we've just really got this one. I don't understand when we can't roll back government regulation here. And on top of that, we know this will save our countries billions of dollars from nonviolent drug criminals, from nonviolent drug incarceration.
I hear you on that. But his reason, just one second, the reason that he believes that it should be legal and that the experiment in Washington and Colorado is a good one is because he says that minorities are incarcerated at an unfair rate compared with non-minorities who are smoking pot, which raises the question, and that may be true in the numbers, but it raises the question, maybe we should be discouraging it across the board. Maybe there should be a campaign to discourage pot use among minorities, to say that, there's a better way to make it in your future and to take better care of your body. Seems like a strange argument to me.
But Martha, those campaigns exist.
Go ahead, Michael, and then we'll go to Richard.
I just want to say very quickly, you both made good points. Rich, you brought up the politics of this. There is a political aspect, and Richard shows the problem. Richard admitted he has one libertarian bone. President Obama and the Democrats know they have a problem with young voters. Tad Devine has spoken openly about the need to bring them back, and they have said explicitly, we're going to use pot legalization as a way to get these younger voters who have a more libertarian view to come back to the Democratic Party. They've been alienated by Obamacare and other policies.
But how can they one bone in their body party? Are they leaning towards being more open in their language and looking the other way where these 2 states are concerned because they think it'll help them with young voters? Yes or no?
No, I don't think that's true at all. I'm a young voter, and I don't think it's going to persuade me to vote one party or another based upon pot legalization. I think what the argument the president is trying to make is totally on cost here, right? You could save billions of dollars. You can bring back communities, to bring communities back together, continue cessation education, which we've already seen. We have DARE, we have GREAT in our schools to talk about don't do drugs, don't do alcohol, don't do cigarettes, don't do marijuana. But the truth of the matter is that 2 of those things are legal. Cigarettes are legal, alcohol is legal, they're horrible for your body. Marijuana has some medicinal uses and some medicinal purposes.
Yeah,
and
but the trend in the
illegal.
country, Richard, has to go towards making those things much more difficult for kids to get. Cigarettes are much more difficult for kids to get their hands on. Alcohol is more difficult for kids to get their hands on than it was when I was a kid. So why would you lean in the other direction with the other thing?
Well, but that's why the president, I think a lot of lawmakers and a lot of governors are watching what happens in Washington and Colorado. How do they make, if they're going to legalize it, how do we make the regulations as stringent as possible so that it doesn't get in the hands of the wrong people, so kids can't get hold of it? And so I think that's why everybody's watching as well. How much revenue does it bring in, and how can we regulate to make sure it doesn't get in the hands of children? And I think the president would agree with you on both of those, and that's why it's been a very slow move to legalize this.
It's a curious argument and a big debate. He says that he told his daughters that it's not a good idea, that it's a bad idea to smoke pot, a waste of time, and not very healthy. Just to get that on the record as well. So, thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Martha.
Good debate.
When Colorado voted to legalize marijuana, probably few people's very first thoughts were of business opportunities. But today, state officials reported they took in about $2 million in recreational pot taxes in January, just the first month of sales. Some say it's a billion-dollar industry, so you can bet people right across the U.S. are turning on and tuning in. As Radio Canada's Joyce Napier discovered, there are already surprising spin-offs from the Colorado experiment.
Welcome to Colorado, home of legal marijuana. Yes!
Saturday morning in Denver, 11 a.m., and already it's party time.
I got it!
These bus passengers are visitors from all over the United States here for a perfectly legal Rocky Mountain high.
I have the absolute best job in the world, hands down.
Matt Brown, a true cannabis maven, is the tour guide today. Since marijuana was legalized here on New Year's Day, his agency has done nothing but pot tourism. Business is smoking. So, you having a good time?
Oh, I'm having a great time, absolutely.
Maurizio and Kim are from El Paso, Texas. This is a unique American moment, and they came to savor it.
We're going to go to a grow tour, going to go look at some plants, got to see how they grow them, look at different kinds of weeds.
And last night we got to experience the THC massage oil. It was wonderful.
Just a few months ago, a casual chic gathering like this one would have been underground. Now, though, this crowd at the Space Gallery is emerging into the legal sunshine along with the rest of Colorado's cannabis industry.
With here, I mean, if they do it smart, you can make money out of it. You know, get the cartels out of the way, go ahead and bring in tax government, and then they'll invest it within themselves.
Yesterday's pushers and dealers are today's entrepreneurs. Sellers, growers, tourists, promoters, all of them happily celebrating the end of a prohibition just as another generation did 80 years ago. Denver treats pot like cigarettes. You can't smoke either one in a public place, so a rented bus provides a private smoking salon for this evening's partygoers.
There's really nothing else that can equate to what we've done with cannabis by bringing it from the black market into a legitimate industry.
Toni Fox is a cannabis veteran. For years, she grew and sold medical marijuana. Now, she's catering to a vastly larger clientele.
It's a billion-dollar industry in its infancy. So it is going to be the next big business. And it's definitely the next, it's a green rush.
This is called the Colorado experiment, and the whole country is watching. There are billions of dollars at stake and massive new taxes for governments. And if it works here, as many as 8 states may hold votes to legalize marijuana in the next 2 years. Love's Oven has joined the green rush. It too was a medical marijuana dispensary until January. Now, business is not just up, it's exploded by 1,000%. Hope, who is Love's Oven's master creator, is working flat out, but she still can't keep up with demand for cannabis-laced treats.
And we also do just chocolate-dipped graham crackers, cookies, spicy ginger cookies.
Most of her baked goods are created with something called canna butter. That's right, cannabis butter, green and oily and reeking of a smell that once attracted law enforcement.
Our best-selling cookie.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. You know, when people take a bite and they're like, oh, this tastes just like, you know, my grandma's cookie. And they realize it's not quite their grandma's cookie, but it'll make you happy for a long time afterwards. You know.
In an era when public smoking of any kind is not just against the law but out of fashion, the so-called pot edibles are the hot commodity. Everybody wants them.
We're North America's first legal marijuana tourism company. This is our cooking class at one of the stops on our weekend tour here in Denver, Colorado.
So you just reduce the balsamic.
Cannabis cooks turn out a mixed bag of treats. Cakes, cookies, jujubes. There are candies and sodas. Manna for retailers and clients alike.
I sell out every day I'm open, and I'm doing at least 20 times my volume on a daily basis. So average daily sales are 25,000 currently. By summer, they'll be 50,000. By fall, we're hoping to do $100,000 per day.
How's it going?
It may now be legal, but this new industry is far more regulated than alcohol. You must be 21 to buy any sort of cannabis. Every gram is legally accounted for. Colorado residents can only purchase 1 ounce at a time. Visitors can't buy more than a quarter ounce. All products are imprinted with barcodes and electronically traceable.
It's one of the biggest stories we'll deal with in 2014, certainly.
And of course, like any big issue, it's become a specialty beat for reporters.
We've talked about wine criticism and music criticism for decades, and now we're talking about legitimate professional cannabis criticism.
The biggest daily in Colorado, the Denver Post, now has a website dedicated entirely to cannabis with its own editor-in-chief. Baca and his colleagues are clearly a new breed of journalists in a new world.
It's kind of ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's the smell of a bar, or it's the smell of the park at lunchtime. That smell is kind of ever-present in a weird way because legalization has changed everything.
It really is like a gold rush here. Denver now has more cannabis shops than Starbucks outlets, and it's just the beginning. So what did you guys buy?
Oh, we ended up getting a drink.
They just spent $300 on various products.
Dark chocolate, spicy orange candy bar.
A quarter of that money will find its way into government treasuries. Colorado is eyeing all that new state income as much as $150 million just this year. But there are imponderables. How, for example, to test for driving under the influence of marijuana? What level, if any, is tolerable?
But all of this plan,
and because federal law still prohibits pot,
it's very challenging as an industry that financial institutions won't take our monies.
Washington has said it will not prosecute in states where pot is legal.
I picked up some of those spices.
But banks are nevertheless nervous and don't like accepting drug profits, even perfectly legal ones. So, in a twist that makes no one happy, a lot of dispensaries here store massive amounts of cash in safes, just like they did in the illegal old days. And lots of cash always invites trouble. Mostly, though, this experiment is proceeding well. There's been no reported increase in criminal activity or in traffic accidents. Marijuanization, if you want to call it that, is happening discreetly, in private, and, well, happily. Are you stoned right now?
Very much stoned, yes. Absolutely. There is no doubt about that.
Joyce Napier, CBC News, Denver, Colorado.
As Joyce mentioned, police in Colorado are in a quandary about how to test drivers for marijuana impairment. There's no device like a breathalyzer to measure pot impairment, and a person can have a positive blood test for marijuana days after smoking. Right now, there are no clear statistics in Colorado to measure whether driving while stoned has risen since pot was legalized in January. In the past, those suspected of driving while high were treated as DUIs with no differentiation between alcohol and pot. But clearly authorities are concerned. Colorado's Transportation Department launched an ad campaign today called Drive High, Get a DUI.